Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day to you. And that's depending where you are in the world, because here in London it is evening, verging on nighttime. It is just Tuesday, which is the third day of the week, Sunday being the first day of the week. And we're reading our nighttime devotion. The devotional is called Conflict and Courage. Today, excuse the hair, I just washed it, so it's a bit flyaway. Can't do a thing with it. Doing our nighttime devotion. Today, the title is Used by Satan. The scripture reading comes from Genesis 3, verse 6. She took the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Having herself transgressed, she, Eve, became the agent of Satan, working the ruin of her husband. In a state of strange, unnatural excitement, with her hands filled with the forbidden fruit, she sought his presence and related all that had occurred. An expression of sadness came over the face of Adam. He appeared astonished and alarmed. To the words of Eve, he replied that this must be the foe against whom they had been warned, and by the divine sentence, she must die. In answer, she urged him to eat, repeating the words of the serpent that they should not surely die. She reasoned that this must be true, for she felt no evidence of God's displeasure, but on the contrary, realized a delicious, exhilarating influence, thrilling every faculty with new life, such she imagined as inspired the heavenly messengers. Adam understood that his companion had transgressed the command of God, disregarded the only prohibition laid upon them as a test of their fidelity and love. There was a terrible struggle in his mind. He mourned that he had permitted Eve to wander from his side. But now the deed was done. He must be separated from her whose society had been his joy. How could he have it thus? Adam had enjoyed the companionship of God and of holy angels. He had looked upon the glory of the Creator. He understood the high destiny opened to the human race should they remain faithful to God. Yet all these blessings were lost sight of in the fear of losing that one gift which, in his eyes, outvalued every other. Love, gratitude, loyalty to the Creator, all were overborne by love to Eve. She was a part of himself, and he could not endure the thought of separation. He resolved to share her fate. If she must die, he would die with her. After all, he reasoned, might not the words of the wise serpent be true? Eve was before him, as beautiful and apparently as innocent as before this act of disobedience. She expressed greater love for him than before. No sign of death appeared in her, and he decided to brave the consequences. He seized the fruit and quickly ate it. Used by Satan. When you're torn between love for, well, when it came to him, love for her, and obedience to God. Love for his wife or obedience to God. That's as it says, there was a terrible struggle in his mind. He mourned that he had permitted Eve to wander from his side. But now the deed was done. He must be separated from her whose society had been his joy. How could he have it thus? He had spent time with God, all that life that he had up to then, and with the angels. He had spent time personally side by side with the Creator, our Creator. He saw, he knew, he understood what his destiny was. And yet, Eve outvalued everything. Don't forget, she was a part of him. She was from his rib. So we can't even fathom what that kind of bond was. And he could not endure the thought of separating from her. So, much like Romeo and Juliet, he chose to die with her. Not a great example, but you know what I mean. That serpent's got a lot to answer to, don't it? That serpent has a lot to answer to. And then Eve. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people going to be taking her aside and having a word with her too. God bless you. You cannot